I thought quite a lot about what I want to say today, because Mr. Fox has essentially given me free rein. It's not the normal interview structure. And I want to make this interesting and worth your time. And also, last time that I was in this position, it was for the valedictory speech at my cohort's graduation ceremony. And after discussing the bonds and friendships that we'd formed over the preceding 3 years, I then went on to assure Mr. Mitchell that I was aware that nothing was stronger than the sp3 hybridized carbon-carbon bonds environment. And whether or not you study chemistry, I think it's just so obvious that that's not cool. So I've seen enough of these talks to know that you probably don't care what my favorite subject was at school. And you don't want to hear me talk about how great it was to work with like-minded individuals. It goes without saying that the atmosphere and the environment here at QA is so special. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers who foster this environment and always put in so much extra effort to help all the students, myself included. So if you could all give them a round of applause. Okay, so I'll start with a little bit about my experience here at QA and what I learned. I came to QA as this shy little ginger kid, full of insecurity, and I was certain I was going to be the dumbest one in the school, which I'm sure is something that a lot of you had in your mind as you were coming. I came from Tamborine Mountain State High School, which had not the best atmosphere. It was incredibly uncool to work hard, and the level of work had meant that I'd never really done any work outside of class. So I was in quite a rude shock when I came to QA, and the assignments and homework started piling up, and exam block was looming. And with looming failure coming up, I asked my mum at week 6 in term 1 if I could go back to Tamborine, because I thought I was going to fail all my exams. She said to write it out and see how it went, and so I sat those exams and things went okay. I think I got all A's and 1B. So I kept going, and that was sort of a recurring theme where things would come up and I would doubt myself. And like in the little demonstration we had just then, I was so full of self-doubt, and throughout my time at QA, these things kept coming up where I would just end up doing quite well with them and proving myself wrong. So I think that's the most important thing that I took from QA, a confidence to back myself in any situation and know that I would be able to accomplish anything that I really decided I wanted to work hard for and set my mind to. So yeah, it's been 4.5 years since I finished QA, and I've taken quite a circuitous route. Some of the students that I graduated with are finishing medicine this year. Others have already finished university and have a variety of qualifications. But despite gaining entry to the 2-year medical science degree at Griffith with direct entry in medicine, I'm only in my first year of the postgraduate program, and that's because I decided to take gap years in between, so after high school and then last year as well, before starting my postgraduate degree. So I travelled and surfed all over the world. I volunteered, which was great, and I recommend it to everyone. I was teaching English in Nicaragua. And I also worked some pretty ordinary jobs, which think like being abused in the kitchen, washing dishes, labouring, landscaping. And I did that to save up money to be able to go on these trips. I took really valuable experience from that as well. I saw how terrible working life could be, and it gave me a lot of motivation to go to uni and work hard to pursue something that was more interesting and challenging and rewarding. So that's why I'm back and doing medicine. So in these years off, I've now been to over 60 countries, a lot of affluent places, so all through North America and all over Europe. But I've also travelled through a lot of developing countries, rife with poverty, and I've done a lot of this on very little money, so like hitchhiking through Europe and sleeping in front of churches and lots of random stuff. I've met people from unimaginably diverse backgrounds in all kinds of different life circumstances. I got myself in a lot of crazy situations and made a lot of dumb decisions. And despite being asked by a fellow graduate at QA prior to taking my first gap year if I was worried that I was going to be losing a year, it's the complete opposite. I regret nothing, and these years off have allowed me to gain so much more than I ever would have in time spent here. I learnt so much, and a lot of this is really difficult to convey to others because it's such subtle shifts in perspective and attitude, which have helped me lead a much more fulfilling and happy life. So the transition from QA to uni went really smoothly. The gap year helped, and it changed a lot of the ways that I approached work and life in general. But QA also helped so much. You guys, I always look back so gratefully on my time at QA. It's such amazing preparation, and I've never worked as consistently hard as I did at QA since finishing QA, which means that I've sort of felt like I'm on holidays the entire time. The university is so much more flexible, and it doesn't accumulate in the same way that the IB content does, so really it's just been super chill, and I have a lot of fun with it, so there's a lot to look forward to. Now I'll speak about a few things that I wish I knew, or things that I wish I was more aware of during my time at QA. And these may be a little bit controversial, a bit left field, and I apologise in advance, Miss Lehman, if you're not happy with some of them. Especially this first one, which is that your IB score doesn't really matter. Ooh. I mean, of course it's not 100% true. It can open certain doors and provide some opportunities. But you also need to be acutely aware that all the IB score itself is an abstract representation of your ability to learn information and analytical techniques and apply them in an exam setting, which isn't necessarily that important in the real world and in day-to-day life. There's all these soft skills that Ms. Lehman was talking about. And I mean, I was in for a bit of a shock when I went from QA and having the IB at the core of my existence to traveling around the world and meeting all these amazing people in different areas and realizing that none of them could care less about how I went at school. No one's interested, trust me. All that people are really caring about is who you are as a person, how you treat other people, and how enjoyable you are to be around. Another tip is that perfection is not desirable. This might be hard for all the type A driven personalities in the room to hear. And I grappled with it myself a bit in school. But striving for perfection is constricting. And in a lot of cases, it can stop you from even starting to undertake certain tasks because of that fear of failure to achieve perfection. It's also used in a lot of cases, and I was guilty of this as well, as almost a safety mechanism and something that you can hide behind. And it's also really inefficient in terms of time. So who here studies business and management? A few hands. Does anyone know the Pareto principle? No? Everyone's too shy? 80-20. 80-20, yes. So it's the 80-20 principle, which is effectively that by taking on the 20% of most important components of any given task, you can achieve 80% of the important work. And this is something that I learned at QA. I dutifully wrote down my notes, and I think it didn't even come up in the exam. And I think it's the most important thing that I learned content-wise, but I paid absolutely no heed to it at the time. And once you take the approach that close enough, in most cases, is good enough, it will free up so much extra time to move on to other important tasks and to have free time to do stuff that you enjoy. Because if you're not able to enjoy the process of achieving the goals that you're trying to achieve, then honestly, what's the point of the success that will come at the end? So my next tip is get outside. And I mean this literally and figuratively. Literally, you have no excuses. I don't care how snowed under you are with work, but there's no excuse to not get outside, enjoy the sunshine, get away from your laptop and notes and Instagram and Netflix and Fortnite and do some exercise. It's like Ms. Sleeman was saying, it's good for your body. It will make you healthier, happier, less stressed, and more productive. Fun has to be prioritized. I don't mean it needs to be prioritized above everything else, because incessant fun will just rapidly turn into hollow pleasure. But you need to be able to make sure that regardless of how busy you are trying to achieve certain goals, you make time to get outside and be active and healthy. Because health and happiness is so much more important than any external success that you are ever going to be able to achieve. And in the more figurative sense, QA and the Gold Coast are great places, but they are also very insular and safe. And so, I mean, get outside of the familiar territory, get outside of the geographical and socioeconomic bubble that you're living in, and go outside of your comfort zones. It's there that you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You'll have to think on your feet, but you'll also learn a lot and grow a lot as a person. And my final tip for you guys, something that I wish I was better at whilst I was at QA, and something that I'm still really trying to work on. I think it's the most important thing that my time since QA and all my travels have taught me. It's to be grateful. It's so easy to get caught up in the stresses of what's going on at school, what's going on with your family and with your friends. But you need to be able to take a step back and appreciate how lucky you are that your bio-IA, something so trivial like that is what you're stressing about, and not whether you can get food for the day. You're so lucky to be able to strive to get a great education and be living in such a beautiful part of the world where the quality of life is so high. And if you're unable to cultivate an attitude of gratitude and be able to appreciate the inherent good in any situation, then it's really not going to end well. If you can't appreciate what's going right in any situation, then no change of circumstances is going to bring lasting happiness, and you'll always be stuck in that mentality of the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, which isn't a great place to be. So, there's some of my tips and some things that I wish I was more aware of whilst at QA. My current plans are to finish my medical degree, to continue to prioritize traveling and having a variety of experiences and having an enjoyable lifestyle. I don't have any fixed goals about where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years or what I'm going to be doing, but I just plan to keep enjoying myself and trying to grow as a person and just see where life takes me. So if you guys take anything from this today, it's that I really strongly encourage you to consider taking some time off after school. Take a gap year. There is no rush to finish university and start full-time work. You have your whole life to work. Take some time off to invest in yourself and to pursue things that you neglected whilst you were at QA. Put yourself in foreign environments, in foreign cultures, go far away and go by yourself, because you're going to meet a lot of amazing people and you're going to grow much more as a person if you take yourself away from what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable with here. Yeah, and you're also going to learn a lot and grow so much as a person and come across all these situations that you just will never be exposed to here, and you'll learn stuff that you can't learn in an academic context and in a traditional educational institution here in Australia. So feel free to contact me if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to give advice in regards to anything about school, university, travel, and yeah, anything that you're curious about. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening today, and all the best with your studies. Thanks, guys.